Welcome, parents and students, to our Scholar and Family Welcome Session for Pinellas County Schools' newest initiative entitled Elevating Excellence. My name is Kevin Hendrick, and I'm the Associate Superintendent for Teaching and Learning Services for Pinellas County Schools, and as such, I help to oversee all of our academic programming. And tonight, I'm happy to be your host as we kick off this new initiative for high-achieving students and their parents within Pinellas County Schools. Tonight, to give you a little orientation of what we have in store, I have about a 20-minute presentation that I'll run through with you this evening, and then we'll do about a 10 or so 15-minute question and answer session with the larger audience, and then after that, we'll be happy to stay and answer any individual questions you might have about yourself, your student, your son or daughter, as well as any other questions about our school system. As we do this tonight, this is our third parent and student welcome session. We've had one at Palm Harbor University High School, one at Countryside High School, and tonight is our third. We have a fourth one tomorrow night at Boca Ciega. But you're in luck, because tonight we're streaming this live on our YouTube channel for other parents around the district who perhaps have not been able to attend or will watch in the future at a recorded session. So with that, welcome. I want to thank you for being here. And I want to start by showing you a little slide. And I want you to, students that are here or parents of students in our school system, think about yourself as the person in the middle of the slide. Sitting there a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, with the choices of all those that you see on the screen. That you've been accepted to them all, that you know the cost of each and every place, you know the majors that they offer and why they may be of interest to you. And you know exactly the choice that you want to make. Perhaps that choice is something close, like the University of South Florida or the University of Florida. Perhaps it's a place far away from here, like Stanford University. In any case, we want you to be well informed, and we want you to have that choice to make the very best decision for yourself and your family. These colleges and universities on the screen are some of course, the very best across the country. And they represent institutions that students from Pinellas County Schools left last year and are now attending. And we want you to have that same choice. Now you're here tonight, or you're watching at home on YouTube, because you've already demonstrated, not that you have the potential for that, but that you've already demonstrated that you can do that. And you've done that through a number of ways, but one of which is through the PSAT test. Students, raise your hand if you remember taking the PSAT. All right, we provide it, of course, for all 9th and 10th graders and many 11th graders as well. And you have already scored college ready in both mathematics and in English language arts. And so where you are now, whether that's 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, you've already met the basic criteria of test scores to begin the process of being competitive at universities such as these. Of course, you're going to have to continue along that way. There's going to be grade point average, there'll be essays, there'll be other factors that would play into college admissions, but you've already demonstrated some of those critical benchmarks. And so with that, whether that is tonight, or whether it was last week, or perhaps since the very first day you remember your parents speaking to you, you are college bound. We want to, as a school system, prepare you in every way, shape, and form to make this choice and to be as well informed as possible. You are, by virtue of your invitation to this program, the elite of Pinellas County Schools. We want to support you in all of the endeavors that you have. And so, our Elevating Excellence program is an initiative that we are kicking off to support high-achieving students and their families for a personalized path to college success. We recognize in our public schools, like in almost every other public school district across the country, that our counseling model perhaps leaves a little bit to be desired. 400 students to one counselor is not always the best model that we'd like to see. And so for you to get to that college of your dreams and be well informed for those colleges, we know we need to do a little bit more. And that's where Elevating Excellence comes in. And so it's built around 6 pillars of supporting students and their families. And I'm going to briefly walk you through each of those 6. The first is your course pathway. All students are taking courses right now Raise your hand if you've already registered for courses next year. I would imagine most of you. That pathway or course progression, the courses that you take, helps to really define the type of school that you want to attend. And in particular, as you apply for a particular major, those courses help to further define who becomes more competitive to get into those high-profile programs across the country. So for example, if you want to go to the University of Florida and be in the School of Architecture, which is one of the best programs in our state for architecture, what are the courses of students who are currently in those programs? What did they take in high school? And how does your transcript compare to theirs, both from grades and the actual courses? So course pathway and progression is something that we'll talk to you about constantly over the course of this program. Parent and student engagement is critical. Oftentimes we engage our students in many ways, but sometimes it doesn't always get to parents. And so as part of our Elevating Excellence is to connect with parents, many of which are here and are watching at home, to make sure you have all the necessary information to be as prepared as possible to help your child make the next step in their education pathway. And it's important for us that the child's perception and the parent perception and the information is very, very similar. We don't want to disconnect where the child thinks, oh, I can go do this, and mom and dad come back and say, well, that would be nice, except for the $20,000 it cost out of my pocket to send you. So we want to make sure you're on a similar pathway and that you have informed choices. That parent engagement starts tonight, but it will continue throughout the program, and I'll hit on some of those a little bit later. It includes academic counseling and targeted support, included starting in our summer sessions, which we'll talk about, but then following up through the year. That's probably what you're most familiar with in meeting with a counselor, but that academic targeting and support will go beyond what you would normally expect and really be personalized. It will include peer collaboration and experiences. We know that high-achieving students grow when they're around other high-achieving students. And we want to surround you with students who are like-minded, that perhaps want to go to similar places, and can help challenge you to meet your dreams. We'll, of course, include college entrance test preparation. Whether we like it or not, tests are a major part of college entrance exams, SAT and ACT, so we'll help prepare you for that and make sure you're well-positioned for your choice. And then last but certainly not least is the college matching and scholarship planning. So as you further define what it is that you want to do and where you may want to attend, how do we make sure you're matched both with the college and the major that you want, and then of course, financially along the way. And so that'll include help sessions with all the financial aid components, including the federal application for free student aid, and then private and public scholarships. So as a basic condition of our Elevating Excellence initiative, we have the standard that every student that's been invited should exit high school at a minimum with the Bright Future Scholarship. How many parents and students are familiar with Bright Futures? Mostly everybody. It started nearly 30 years ago in the state of Florida with the Florida Lottery, and it has continued in various ways and shapes and progressions over the course of these 30 years with different funding levels, different tests and entrance requirements for the Bright Futures. But currently, as of tonight, the Bright Futures requirements for Florida academic scholars, which is a 100% tuition cost at a 4-year public university, plus a book allotment. You see the SAT score and you see the ACT score, as well as the GPA and service hours. For the Florida Medallion Scholar, it is 75% at a 4-year university, plus a book allotment, and you'll see the GPA and test scores there as well. What we want to help you with along the way is making sure you are using every advantage possible to hit these targets. So most students and parents know the graduation requirements. If I asked you what are the graduation requirements for social studies, you could probably tell me a year of world history, a year of US history, semester of economics, semester of US government. But what most parents and students don't know is that when it comes to using social studies for the Bright Future Scholarship, you have to use 3 credits, but there are variables in which those 3 credits can be. So you can use elective social studies credits, like psychology or sociology or advanced placement human geography, and things like that. So there are ways to up that GPA to a 3.0 or 3.5 compared compare it to what the Bright Futures transcript requires, and see how we can best advantage you to make sure that the GPA goes as high as you can, and then obviously move to the test score. So that's one of the initiatives. So again, as we go along this college path, that's some of the detail that you can expect from Elevating Excellence. And so with that, we will kick off with summer seminars. The summer seminars, you have a handout on that when you came in tonight, is an opportunity for you in depth over the course of 3 days to really figure out at your grade level, what are the things that I should be doing as a rising sophomore, as a rising junior, or as a rising senior to prepare for the university of my choice. And while we love St. Petersburg College and our own Pinellas Technical Education College, our goal is really in this program looking at 4-year universities with competitive admissions. And so we want you to think high and be as educated as possible. And so during the summer, depending on your grade level, you'll experience a differentiated session. And if you are a rising junior or a rising senior, we'll collapse the information a little bit so that you can pick up on some of the sessions that perhaps you didn't get had you been in the program as a rising 10th and 11th grader. But for those of you that are rising sophomores, you can expect to see this each summer up through your senior year. So as a sophomore, what can you expect to see? Well, one of the first things that we will do is evaluate your transcript. And we'll do that, of course, with the rising 11th and 12th graders. Many students and parents often request a transcript to be sent to a university. You normally do that through your local guidance office. It gets sent electronically. But rarely do parents and students lay their eyes on the physical copy of that transcript. And so what does that transcript look like? And what does it contain? And more importantly, what does it not contain? Because in your college application, sometimes it's up to you to fill out the rest of your story. Your transcript only contains certain test scores, like your 10th grade FSA score and your algebra EOC, and then your final semester grades. It does not contain your quarter grades. It does not contain advanced placement scores, your test scores. It does not contain attendance. There's a lot of things it does not contain. So as we review that transcript with you, we'll help first let you see what that looks like, and then really, as you rise in your sophomore year, work on your course progression. What college and university do you want to attend, and what is the pathway that will help get you there? If you say you want to go to the University of Florida to get into their medical sciences program as an undergrad, well, what do the transcripts look like for the students that have been admitted to those programs over the course of the last 2 or 3 years? And then how does your transcript and the courses you've chosen lead you to that? As part of that, if in the summer you decide, hey, maybe I want to change to a different English class or a different elective, you'll have the opportunity to do that through this initiative. As you rise to the junior year, we'll reflect on your progress and really dig into the Bright Futures Scholarship and make sure you are on pace for one of those 2 levels. We'll work a lot on the test preparation for the juniors because that is the year that you'll first take the PSAT to potentially qualify for the National Merit Scholarship Competition. That's in October of your junior year. And then in the latter part of your junior year, you'll be taking the tests that are required for college admission, so the ACT and the SAT. So we'll focus a lot on that. And it was mentioned in the last slide, and I'll hit it again in a couple of these. You'll have the opportunity to hear from college admissions counselors on what they are looking for college admissions, both from a course grades, advanced placement, dual enrollment, service projects, and the other factors that go into that process. For rising seniors, we'll obviously dig in and focus a lot more. And so for seniors, we'll help you with your common application, we'll help you with college essays, and any particular requirement of a program that you want to apply for. Many of the specialized, high-performing colleges and universities require something extra. So what are those extra things? Maybe it's a separate national test, like the science portion of the SAT. Maybe it's a separate essay. Maybe it's something that they're looking for in terms of an interview. So we'll help you research those things and then help personalize that path for you. Along the way, each of the levels will participate in those college admissions panels, as well as college students We'll have college students coming back, former Pinellas County students, and sharing their experiences and things that perhaps they wish they would have known as they applied for college. One of the unique and interesting parts for rising seniors especially will be participating in some mock interviews. Every year when students apply, particularly to Ivy League schools, but some of the more elite schools, they're often asked to do a mock interview with a local alumna of that college or university. Some of you perhaps are familiar with that. And so we'll have some of those folks here and perform some mock interviews on stage with some of our Elevating Excellence students, and then they'll do some peer interviews as well. So at each level, the program will be a little bit different, but across all three levels, they will participate in some common activities, like one, of course, being around like-minded peers. We'll have 4 locations for our Elevating Excellence Summer Seminars. They're on your handout, and I'll go over them again in just a moment. But part of that design is we want students to come together from different high schools. It's good to hear what is emphasized at different places, even within our own district. And so sometimes you may hear a greater emphasis on PSAT preparation through the Khan Academy or SATpractice.org at one particular high school, and it's good for other students to hear that. Likewise, perhaps there's an advanced placement class that students are getting ready to take the next year. We want them to hear from other students at other schools who have already been successful in that particular course. They'll collaborate with each other, do some small little projects and activities throughout the 3 days, and really practice how a college student gets ready for their next steps. And then at the end of that time, they're going to show off their work for their parents and the family. So on the last day, we'll ask that parents return, and we'll get a schedule to you of what that looks like, so that your child can share, what is it that I did for the last 3 days? How have I built my portfolio as a college student? And what do I think my next steps are along the way? And again, that'll be different at each grade level. But it's part of the idea that we want parents to be in sync with their children as you get ready for those college choices. And so the summer seminar is no cost for 3 days, and we will serve lunch to students. Students, don't worry, it will not be part of the federal lunch program. All right? It'll be something a little bit better than that. It'll be a 6-hour program, 9 to 3, and there are 4 sites, as I mentioned. The last day will extend until about 5 o'clock because we want parents to be able to come and join in. If we need to stay later, we will. But we'll have setups along the way for students to present to their parents. By the way, those presentations and portfolios are not for us. We're not going to collect them. They are for you. You have to own those and take them with you, and we'll help you build that along the way. Parents are responsible and students are responsible for transportation, but we will have our buildings open, as we do all summer, for our high schools from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and we'll have computer labs available for students if they need to arrive early or they want to stay later, and we'll have someone there manning those computer labs along the way. The locations for the summer seminars, if I can scroll to them, there we go. Clearwater High School, Dixie Hollins, Gibbs, and Palm Harbor University. And there are 2 opportunities to attend. The first is June 5th through the 7th. The second is July 24th through the 26th. Both sessions are the same, the one in June and the one in July. So it doesn't do you any good to attend both. They'll be the same content. But it's up to you to choose which days you'd like to attend. The registration for Elevating Excellence is now live. We opened it up last Thursday, and you can register on the Elevating Excellence website, which is on your handout, and I'll show in just a moment. When you register on the website, it is going to ask for some parent information as well as some student information. You'll obviously have to choose the site that you'd like to attend as well as the session that you'd like to attend. And when you hit submit, a lot of parents have asked when we've done the first 2 sessions, will I get a confirmation email receipt? You will not, but on the screen it will say your form has been successfully submitted. So you'll see that across the top. In about 2 weeks, after we finish with our orientations and initial registrations, we will reach out to parents and students via email, so you'll start to get some information before the first summer session in June, but initially that'll be the way that you know that you've registered. So the 6 pillars I touched on have been borne out by some work in really working with a number of organizations, both locally and across the country, to help build this. I will tell you that this idea of supporting high-achieving students and their parents is something that has been a vision of our superintendent, Dr. Michael Grego, for really his entire tenure in Pinellas County Schools. And it's been tried and launched a couple times at different schools with some varying success, but nothing this systemic. It's not something that we've been able to borrow from another school district across the country because it really doesn't exist. You very rarely see this level of commitment and effort to high-achieving students to the point that we are committed to. And so I want to thank some folks, many of which are here tonight, our Elevating Excellence champions from our different high schools. Way back in September, I approached our high school principals and said, we want to launch this initiative, and I need someone from your school who is really a champion for high-achieving students and wants to help forge this forward. And so a number of folks came forward. I want to thank those that are here tonight from St. Petersburg High School, Sarah Henderson, from Osceola, Diane Becker, from Dixie Hollins, Jennifer Sinfei, and from Pinellas Park, Jamie Wasserman. And I don't think I missed anybody. And at our other sessions, we've had others, and you'll see a few of their pictures here and the rest of the high schools here. So they've been helping to build this program under those 6 pillars for this summer, as well as other partners, such as the Pinellas Education Foundation, which is helping to fund some of this work, and some external partners across the country that they've engaged us with to help make sure that as this is built, it's done with evidence-based practices that have been successful in small parts across the country, whether that one part is on test prep or college essay writing, or perhaps building a system that gets kids and parents excited about these ideas. So I want to thank our Elevating Excellence champions that are here tonight that have helped to build this along the way. For our parents and our students, but in particular our parents, this is really an effort to engage you wholeheartedly in the process. So we're thankful that you're here tonight, but we don't want this to be the only time that you're engaged. It's been great as we've rolled this out at other schools to listen to questions, and so in just a moment I'll be asking for some parent questions to share, and please ask those, any ones that you might have. With us also tonight is Judy Vigu. Stand up in the back there, Mrs. Vigu. Mrs. Vigu is the head of our Advanced Studies and Academic Excellence programs in our district. She helps to oversee and implement all of our programs from advanced placement to dual enrollment, early college, early admissions, and a little bit of everything else in between. And as you reach out for questions, she's probably, and a member of her team are going to be the ones that respond, and I've had her email address on the screen. So I want to roll out to questions, 4 questions. We encourage folks to ask anything that may be appropriate for the whole group. If it's something that really is specific to your child, then we'll stay late and answer those later, but we want to start with ones that are for the whole group. So I believe Mrs. Dull, who's our Director of Strategic Planning and Policy and has helped to build this with us along the way, and we thank her for that. She's got a microphone. Please don't be shy. She'll come around and you can ask those questions.
There might be some other people with the same question that I have. If my daughter already knows she doesn't want to go to school in Florida, do you have to do the Bright Futures?
Okay, so the question is, if we know we don't want to go to school in Florida, what is Bright Futures, right? So the answer is Bright Futures doesn't carry out of state. It does stay in state, private, and public. So the question is, if I know I want to go out of state, should I even bother? And the answer is yes, and here's why. We want you to apply. We want you to be awarded Bright Futures. You don't have to use it immediately. There are some ways in which you can defer that. So if your child goes out of state, doesn't work out for whatever reason that might be, it's too expensive, doesn't work out, whatever that might be, we want you to be able to have that as a fallback. A lot of parents have asked questions about the Florida prepaid program as well and how that carries forward. We'll have some expertise on that at our summer seminars at the parent session, but that is also a college savings plan. You get a lot of benefits if you use it in Florida because it grows at the tuition that you bought it at, but if you can take that out of state, you just don't get the benefit of the growth of the money to the same extent. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. What the support looks like during the school year. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get a vision of what just the vision of it. If you could share a little more detail.
Great question. So talked a lot about the summer seminar. How does that look once the year starts? So one of the reasons we have the Elevating Excellence champions in every school is to carry this work forward along with the child's guidance counselor. So he's not here tonight, but Mr. Jonathan Blair, who's our head of school counseling, is training his counselors around all of this work. In fact, Mrs. Wasserman, who's here, is one of our counselors who's been building this, and there will be counselors at all of the summer sessions who are participating along in this work. So as we get into next year, what we anticipate is that each quarter there'll be a follow-up at school with the children from each school who have registered as Elevating Excellence students, the Elevating Excellence champion, as well as the counselors. And because the students who participate in the summer seminars will be really farther along the path, those conversations with counselors really change in terms of what I'm asking for. So we envision a lot more counseling from your counselor during the year, but also some cohort work with students with the Elevating Excellence champion. That'll look different in every school and at each level, but certainly part of that will be the SAT prep. So one of the things you'll see this summer is we're not going to do a lot of SAT prep during the 3 days. It wouldn't make a great use of time to have students just sitting there working on practice problems, but we will expect students to work as we follow through, and the Elevating Excellence champions will be helping to monitor and support that in the year.
Just as a follow-up, you mentioned some level of differentiation for rising seniors.
Yes.
Can you talk about what that might look like in terms of replacing SAT prep? Because, I mean, we've gone through that process already, and so are looking for some of the other aspects of college preparation support.
Great question. So I think I asked for a show of hands. How many students have worked on SATpractice.org or Khan Academy? All right, some, not as many. So, you know, there becomes a kind of, I don't want to say a point of no return, but there becomes a time when I've done so many hours, what else can I do next, right? So part of that preparation will happen in the curriculum this summer. One of the organizations we've partnered with does this face-to-face, not online, and has given us some of the curriculum to help work through that. So part of it is, what is the score that I want to attain, right? Where do I want to go? What do I need to get to? Now, how far am I? And what are the strategies that get me those extra 2 points or those extra 40 points, depending on the test? So it will look a little different for each student and where they want to go, but it is beyond SATpractice.org for sure. Good questions. Sure.
If my child is not able to attend one of the summer seminars, do they still register, or are they still able to be involved in this program?
Good question. The answer is we would never turn a student or family away. Of course, we want you to come to the seminar, but a couple families have said, look, I know we can come to 2 days, but we can't come to the third. Is that possible? The answer is yes. You're going to miss out on whatever the curriculum was on there. But if they're not able to attend at all, still register, and we'll hook them back in when we come around in the school year.
Can you tell us more about the pathways? For instance, my son is enjoying the construction program here at this school, and we wonder if there's something that would appeal to him.
Sure, so the question about pathways, how do we make sure that students' courses that they're taking in high school match to their future goals? That's essentially the bottom line. Now, how do we bridge that gap in the middle? So if a student is wanting to go, used architecture before, let's use medical sciences, and they know that they want to perhaps go into the field of medicine, what are the courses that they're taking now that might make them attractive to a school or for a biology major, say to go to the University of Florida? Because every time, and this is a simple one, but an obvious thing is you should take anatomy and physiology, you should take chemistry, you should take biology in high school, because you're going to have to take those in your freshman and sophomore years, and there's no reason you shouldn't take that. Advanced placement biology obviously would be another good one, AP chemistry would be a great one. So those types of matches that we're talking about. It wouldn't take a student out of, say, a career academy program or any other unique program at a current school, but everybody has 1 or 2 electives plus their cores. So if your core is not looking at honors and advanced placement, or if your electives aren't maximizing your potential for college admission, we want to help connect those dots. Yes, ma'am.
At their school? Like, say, for instance, if she goes to Seminole, will it be Tiffany Rasmussen, or will be assigned by, or if we have questions in the interim?
Yes. So the Elevating Excellence champions would be the point person for the next couple of months leading into the summer. Once the summer starts, they'll continue to be a point of contact, but also your child's counselor. So the counselors will be onboarded as the summer goes and then into the next school year. They will be using their regular school counselor, their current one that they have at their school, but there'll be more because of their participation in Elevating Excellence. But along the way, Mrs. Rasmussen at Seminole or whoever it is at your school are great contacts. Additional questions?
Sessions. So do you close it off after you have a certain number of students sign up?
Good question. Is there capacity? So the answer is we have built out capacity in terms of staffing and lunches and all of those things, materials. However, if we have more, we will find the funding to do more. It is a major priority of our district and our education foundation, so we'll do that. We are anticipating about 1,000 students over the course of the 2 sessions at the 4 locations. So that's what we're targeting for. Based on the response so far, we don't think that'll be a problem. But if we do get more than that, we're happy to accommodate as well. Good question. Yes, sir. Good question. So if your child is going into early college or early admissions or any program at the college, there is a Pinellas County Schools counselor who's there full-time, and they will do all of this work. So they can attend the summer part, and during the year, they're going to get a lot of the same support through the early college or whatever program it is that they're in. We support 3 of them there. So they can attend in the summer, and you can expect similar work during the school year.
And then you said that their current guidance counselors are going to be trained to do this. Currently, it takes 2 to 3 days to get feedback from a guidance counselor because they're understaffed and they're overworked. Mm-hmm. How is this going to benefit my student if I can't get a hold of the guidance counselor right now with specific problems?
Good question. So that goes back to the building in the regular times for communication. So we know that some of our counselors are overwhelmed, and so how do we make that easier? So if you know and your child knows, I'm going to have regular contact on a rotating basis, whether that's every 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, depending on the season that your child is in. If they're a rising sophomore, they're not going to need as much contact as a rising senior who has deadlines and applications and things like that. So in the school year, those things will be built in where you know what that is, as well as just a better familiarity of, I know that this child wants this, and I know the parents support this, and so it just becomes a priority, like any other program that we have in which there are people attached to. Additional questions? We want to thank our parents and students for coming, and as I mentioned earlier, we'll stay and answer any individual questions you have. We look forward to you signing up online and becoming part of our initial Elevating Excellence Champion program. Thank you.